felt like I was never kind to myself, like, you know.
Today, on That One Time, I'm joined by Cormac Murphy. Cormac is an Irish-born fitness coach, current Mr. USA, former contestant on Love Island, based out of New York.
I found myself like sitting on a 4-story ledge, about to jump off, you know, and you think that would have been it though, you know, you think that would have been it, like, oh, he's going to get help, but that was just the start of it.
You know, you're doing some good stuff, you're in a really great space, you're sober, you've had a few more like positive, like fun experiences, like with Mr. World stuff. What's changed now?
Honestly, I just started listening to what other people were telling me. I was never communicating with my family and friends then, you know. I was hiding what was going on inside. There was a part of my brain that was saying, get sober, your life is going to be a hell of a lot better, and there was another other side of my brain saying, do more drugs, drink more alcohol.
You don't have to believe in yourself to move forward though. Sometimes like the self-belief comes by just fucking giving it a crack.
What you put out is what you attract back in, you know what I mean? And that goes for people, success, whatever the case is. And I've got a little glimpse of it, bro.
In this episode, we explore his experience in the depths of substance abuse and depression, how he managed to navigate through that, become the man he is today, and go on to win Mr. USA. Just a heads up though, this episode does touch on some dark and difficult times in his life and maybe a trigger warning for some. But if you or people in your life have battled with substance abuse or mental health issues, this episode is full of deep, wise insights from somebody who has gotten through to the other side and is well worth a listen. So please enjoy this episode with Cormac Murphy.
Cormac Murphy, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, my man.
Cool.
Appreciate you having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say, when we first met, I really appreciated you. You had a really great vibe about you. We hit it off straight away. You're a very interesting man. You've done a lot. You've got a lot of great stories, and I'm really excited to get into, you know, the nuances of your world and how you thought and how you think. And I think you are tapping into a very, very important thing that needs to be supported, which is men's health, especially.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep doing some good work.
Yeah, legend, bro. Yeah. Legend. I'm excited for this, man. It's nice. Like you said, we connected there a little while back, and it's the beauty about New York City, especially, bro. You know, you never know who you're going to meet, and the powerful thing about being introduced to people is, like, you know, you develop new friendships, new relationships, and now we're here today. Yeah, you know? Exactly.
So it seems that your brother's played a really critical role in your life to date. What's your relationship with him, and what's the standout interactions you guys have had?
Yeah, so I have 4 brothers.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, you have 4?
4. Okay. But Liam, I think you're talking about Liam.
I think I'm talking about Liam.
Yeah. Liam Og. So Liam Og. Og is young in Irish, and my father's name was Liam. So it's almost like Junior here in America.
Yeah.
So Liam, young Liam. Yeah. I'll actually see him tomorrow. But yeah, 4 people. Some people might have heard this before, but well, I was struggling in 2019 with my drug and alcohol, right? Addiction. And I called home to my mom, terrified, crying. I was very, you know, I'm suicidal. And within, I would say about a week, my brother Liam had flew over to the States, and within 5 days I was back in Ireland. So, you know, where I was then, I was broke mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, you know, didn't feel like there was a way out. And, you know, he flew over and took me home, and that was kind of the start to my recovery, you know. So it was powerful. You know, you always have, you know, for us, we have a big family, so I felt like my brother Liam was kind of the rock of our family, and not taking anything away from my other brothers or my sister, because everyone has, you know, everyone has their different personalities and characteristics, but my brother was really, you know, the one who kind of took me out of the hole that I was in, like, you know.
Okay. With you mentioned there was a conversation with your mum in like a really dark point. What spurred that conversation? So why did you go, I need to talk about this in this moment?
I guess because the group of friends that I was hanging out with at the time, and I'm still friends with them, but they had been trying to get me in to treatment, you know, or, you know, I went on a really bad bender there one day. I was like 4 days straight, and I rocked up. I was, you know, I was always sleeping through the day because I was out all night, and I woke up and two of my friends were there. My brother Liam's friend was there, and he was like, they took me to the hospital, and the doctor said, oh, he's been kind of detoxing already, you know, so we can't really do anything with him. And but I guess it was just a cry for help, man, you know. Like, I had my brother here as well, and he kind of knew, but I always separated myself with anyone who I knew who would really try to help me, you know. And that was my family, you know, because it was easy for me. I moved to New York. My parents didn't know what was going on. No one really knew what was going on. They knew I worked in nightclubs. They knew I was doing my thing here. I'd obviously done the reality show, so everything really looked good from the outside, but from the inside, for me, it wasn't good at all, you know. I had to stop working in the nightclubs. The guys I worked with at the time, I told me I can't do it anymore. And I knew as well, bro, like, my appearance was absolutely terrible. Like, I went from like 185 pounds to like 162 or 3 pounds at one stage, because I was doing so much. I was partying so much, and was barely eating, and was like sleeping through the day. So it was just like, you know, in comparison to my habits and my lifestyle now, it was just completely different.
Yeah, and you're a tall guy too, so
it's crazy,
that's skinny.
Bro. Yeah, and it was like, I always say this to kind of make it sound funny. It's not funny, but like, I always wore skinny jeans. And my skinny jeans were no longer skinny jeans; they were falling off me. Like, you know, it was just like. But I use that, man. I often look at my photos from 2019, 2020, because it's like, I don't take this for granted. I never forget where I was, because it wasn't that long ago, and it was, you know, I use it as, a little bit of motivation, but also like I look back on where I was, because it helps me kind of, you know, gives myself a pat on the back to where I am today, you know. And I think that's super important, no matter where you are in life, good or bad, or anywhere in between. I think it's like always good to look back on where you were and to see how far you've come. And it's like, there was always a quote, it's like live in the present, learn from the past, live in the present, but look to the future. So like, for me, it's like, my past is my learnings. I'll always try and stay present, but I'll always look forward to the future as well, because, you know, I think that's what we should do. You know, you should always have certain goals, mini goals, or certain targets. But for me, I have to kind of live in the present, but learn from my past in order to look to the future. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I think especially as men, we have to have something external to ourselves to be motivated to really be the best version we can.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
That's why they say, like, having children, having a spouse, or having like a job that actually creates positive value for the world, it like really gets us, you know, on our feet and able to withstand.
Yeah. Because even in life, bro, like, isn't like, we'll always go through, no matter how successful one person is, you'll always go through a little rut where you feel like a little stuck, or whatever the case is. And like, you know, that's just a given. That's just always going to happen to everyone, even if they don't admit it. Like, that's just a fact of life. You're always going to be stuck in a rut, whether it's your relationships to yourself, or to your spouse, or your business, or whatever you do for a career, you know. So it's like, that's just a given. So it's like, I think learning to realize that that's okay as well, you know, and going back to people as well, like, you know, not being afraid to ask people for help or guidance, you know, that's super important. And that I think that for me, that's a big lesson as well. Like, I was always afraid to ask for help, like, you know, because I thought, well, it's embarrassing to ask for help, or I had a lot of shame around it as well. But honestly, once I started asking for help and I started opening up to people, that for me was the key to recovery, you know, and that kind of led me to today.
You mentioned you did a few things. You're in the TV show. Yeah. So just want to do a bit of a Rolodex of what you've gotten up to over the last 10 years. So just from what I know, feel free to interject. You worked in nightlife at like a key club, Marquee, which is a pretty well known.
Yeah, I worked all over the city. Yeah, Tau Hospitality. So it was like, anyone that knows, it's like,
it's a big one.
It's big ones, yeah. So
and then you went into Love Island.
Yeah, 2019 was Love Island.
Yeah, and then you had some time where everything was a bit of a shit show.
Yeah.
And then you came out recently and you have gone into personal training and coaching, and then you just won Mr. Universe this year?
Mr. USA.
Mr. USA this year.
August, and then I'll be representing USA at Mr. Universe in December as well. Great. Yeah, so yeah, it's like I moved to New York in 2016, was working in bars and nightclubs for some years. Love Island was 2019, then rehab was 2020 in Ireland. I went back to Ireland for 2 years and I built myself back up, and my father passed almost 3 years ago now, and you know, I had a conversation with him about a week before he passed, and he had kind of egged me on to book my flights back to New York and kind of like, you know, essentially chase my dreams and kind of right my wrongs, you know. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said, you know, because he was very sick, and as soon as he passed, I booked my flights and I went back, and I was sober at the time, but I had relapsed and told no one. So I was back to my old ways when I came back here in 2021. And but you know, then I built my business, my online coaching business, personal training. I signed with a big agency, modeling agency here in New York, and so I was doing all the things I wanted to do, you know, but you know, I wasn't getting honest with myself. I always say this, I was training this guy who this Irish guy who he's about 12 years sober, and he basically called me out in my bullshit, you know. He told me, he's like, I've been told you've been out, you know, people have seen you out in the bars and clubs again. And it was that conversation that kind of made me realize, okay, I can't bullshit a bullshitter, like, you know. I was bullshitting myself for years, like, and again, going from the outside looking in, I was trying to paint this pretty picture of my life as back to where I want, or not back to where I wanted, but it was like everything is good. But again, it just comes down to that honesty and acceptance for me as well, that I'm a fucking addict, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not getting into, like, you know, addiction and recovery, but that's just a part of my story, like, you know. So yeah, man, I just had to get honest with myself, and you know, because again, that was like 2 years after I was having suicidal like thoughts, attempts, you know, like some dark days, like, you know. And well, look, I got sober. I'm sober today. I celebrated 2 years in July.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And it's the longest I've ever been sober, man, you know. But for me, it's just like, you know, keep it in the day, like, you know. It's not about like, oh, you know, I'm gonna be sober for the rest of my life. I'm just like, oh, I'm sober today, you know. That's the main thing, you know?
Yeah, wake up tomorrow, try again.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And
yeah, there's a lot of love to dig into there, but I have this saying that I've heard a bunch of times where the relapse is part of the recovery.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts around that idea?
I think for me it was, you know, like I relapsed. I had 2 or 3 major relapses. One that landed me in hospital in Ireland. I came out of rehab 5.5 months sober. 5.5 months after rehab. It was the longest I've ever been sober. And it was during pandemic, and I was back living with my parents, and my sister was there, and it was tough, man, you know, like going from like living abroad and going back home, and everything closed down, and I went down and I just got a liter of vodka and I finished it and woke up in the hospital.
Damn.
Yeah. One of my best friends that came over, and I just had this, like, I don't know, was it like a panic attack or an anxiety attack, whatever it was, and my parents called the ambulance, and it was bad. And not many people know that as well, but it's important to say as well, but you know, because I think a lot of people were mistaken, or they just didn't know what was going on really, like, you know, because I was getting a lot of messages on social media when I started talking about my rehab and sobriety and stuff like that. And for me, I spoke too soon because it was just early recovery. But, you know, the relapse for me was a big learning curve. And I'm super fortunate that, you know, I'm still here today, but it was a big learning curve for me, because it was like, it told me, like, I can't do that anymore, you know. Like, it's my life I'm playing with here, like, you know, and it's super important. So it's like, I know a lot of sober people have never relapsed before, but for me it was a couple of times, and yeah, I just kind of took everything to the edge, bro, in life, you know. And you know, I try not to forget those dark days, because it makes me realize how fortunate and lucky I am today, you know.
Well, we're good to have you still alive.
No, of course, bro, of course. And it's like, it might sound a bit aggressive to some people, like, oh, he hardly but bro, that's where I was. Like, I didn't want to be here anymore, like, you know. And I was very lucky that I had good people around me, you know. And that's one thing I want to mention, is like environment as well, because people are like, oh, what's that saying? Is like, you are who you hang out with, or
you're the product of the 5 people you spend your time with.
Like, the 5 people I was around in nightlife were good people, you know. Like, they were good people. Like, a lot of my friends, they're very successful. They own bars around New York City, but it was me that was the like I was the cause, like, you know. So I have to admit that as well, like, you know, because I think early recovery, I was easy to point fingers on people and blame other people, but really it came down to me and my decisions, and yeah, so it's just going back to that acceptance. I think that was really important as well. So like for anyone that is struggling or they have relapse as well, that's just like, just do your best to just like keep it in the day and just learn from your relapses, because relapse is another word. Like I won't say mistakes, because they're not mistakes. Like I'm actually very grateful for it, but like, you know, people relapse in life, you know, people make bad decisions in life. That's just a part of life, you know. So it's just like learn from those decisions as best as you can, you know.
The quality of your life is the quality of the good decisions you make, though.
Yeah.
So if you can
100%.
minimize the bad decisions as best as possible, you're going to make some.
Yeah.
And learn from other people's bad decisions.
Yeah.
It does help. But I'm curious, because for some context, my life has been a combination of, you know, lifelong friends, and we were at times kind of like a rough group, and we were, you know, we'd party a lot, and
Shocker.
yeah. And you know, I know some rough people, and I've like watched. I've always been on I've, you know, dabbled, but I've always kind of stood back and just watched it. And I've had a number of my friends that have like overdosed and died, or like committed suicide, and genuinely have, I think a big part of that was drug abuse, just genuinely fucking with their brain to the point where their synapses were destroyed and they couldn't find anything to latch onto other than that. So they ended their lives. So it's a very, very core thing in my world.
Yeah.
So I would love to understand when you're going through that spiral, or were going through that spiral, what are you looking for?
Yeah, it's a good question, isn't it? I think for me, I used to, I never thought of why I was drinking. You know, I never thought of like, why am I doing this to myself, you know? And then when I started getting sober, I started doing the work internally in rehab, and I won't say, like, I had a very good childhood, bro. You know, like, big family, like, plays lots of sports. We went to good schools, amazing neighborhood. I guess, I don't know, I guess I was always trying to, I don't know, crave attention, you know. I think that's what I got in nightlife as well. It's a tricky question. I think, like, for me, looking back at it now, like, I think I was struggling mentally without the drugs as well. Not having any direction in life. No direction in life at all, you know. You know, going off, like, just completely winging life, and, you know, good things came into my life from doing that as well. But, like, again, I had no foundation of who I was as a person, you know. And I think then you add the alcohol and drugs in, you know, it just completely destroyed me, you know. So it's a tricky question. I'm sure people might have a direct answer for that, but it's a hard one to answer. I think addicts have a lot in common, but everyone has a different story as well, you know.
Yeah.
But for me, I had no direction in life, and then when you add the alcohol and drugs in, bro, it just completely, like, destroys your brain and your thoughts. And for me, though, ultimately, I felt completely alone. That's my thing was, and I hear that a lot. I felt completely alone. I didn't think anyone loved me. I was very insecure. I had no self-esteem, and you know. But for me, I only learned that in recovery then as well. You know, I started, like, I had this great counsellor in rehab, and she helped me a lot. Like, you know, made me understand that, you know, everything I did, like, was okay. Like, you know, because it's just a part of life. Like, you know, and I thought I was the worst person in the world of what I did to people and what I said and how I treated people and how I treated myself and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot there, like, you know. But I think for me, ultimately I just felt completely alone, and that no one was able to help me, or no one wanted to help me, you know.
But it sounds like that was, from, you know, an outside person looking in, not the truth, not the reality of your life.
Yeah, I had friends telling me, like, you know, it's like, look, you have everything going for you.
You have friends, you have everything. So you know, I'm conscious of just, like, talking about your experience without trying to tie it into lessons. So I really want to tie it into genuine lessons.
Okay.
So what was the thought process around this idea that you didn't have anyone and no one did and no one loved you when the reality said otherwise?
I think for me, I was always coming from a big family. I was always trying to outdo my brothers. I was always doing something different from my brothers.
Yeah.
You know, brothers always had, like, the Monday to Friday 9 to 5.
So you're like, I'm going to do 5 to 9.
Oh man, completely, like, flip it around. Like, and, you know, I started modeling when I was younger, and my brothers had never done that, and I thought that was like, I think for me, I was looking for attention from my parents as well, like especially my father as well. And I won't like I never saw my father because he was a great person, but I don't feel like I got the attention from my father that my older brothers did.
Okay.
You know, I feel like, you know, I started modeling and I went on the reality dating show in 2019, and that didn't go well. And when it didn't go well, I was on there for like 9 or 10 days, and I came off, and I remember like I didn't have the following that I thought I was going to have, and I didn't. I wasn't getting the brand deals and stuff that everyone on reality dating shows would get, and that to me hit me really hard. And those 6 months after Love Island were the worst ever. I was drinking and using almost every day, and that's when, you know, suicidal thoughts started coming like where I'm, you know, suicidal thoughts started coming into my brain and my thoughts, and you know, I had like there was a moment, and I'll mention this because, you know, I suppose it was a cry for help. I was like in this apartment 4 stories up, and I kicked the window in, and
oh shit.
Yeah, I was like but I texted my buddy Jack at the time. I was just like, I'm not doing good, help me, something like that. And I was extremely high. I was doing a lot of drugs. There was this drug going around New York called Tusi. It was a fucking mad, and I was taking it like for like a few weeks or a few months.
It's cocaine, ecstasy, and acid, right?
Something wild.
Yeah, it's not a combination of all three.
I didn't,
ketamine. I don't know. It's like a combo of a bunch of things.
But I had a bad trip, or whatever you call it, a bad high, and but I found myself like sitting on a 4-story ledge, about to jump off, you know. And you think that would have been it, though, you know. You think that would have been it, like, oh, he's going to get help, but that was just the start of it, you know. But I think like watching myself on Love Island, I was just like, Jesus, man, like I wasn't happy with who I saw, you know. I just really wasn't happy with who I saw, and no matter what other people told me, you're a good person, I just didn't think I was a good person. So I felt like the drugs and alcohol were just going to take me to my deathbed, you know. It was
numbing.
Yeah, it was a numbing pain. Yeah, I was hoping, like I felt like there was a part of me like I wanted to die, but there was something inside me was like saying you don't. But I think I was hoping I was going to overdose. There was a guy in Nightlife, and we were very similar. Like we were both models, both promoters, very similar look. And I remember I was back in Ireland and I heard he overdosed, and it just hit me. Like I was just in tears. I told my parents, and it's one of the first times my father was very like. My father wasn't an affectionate person. He showed his love in different ways, but it was the first time like where, you know, I feel like he realized like where I was, you know, because when I went go for this interview into the rehab center, my father came in with me, and you have to do this test where they're just asking you yes or no answers or questions, and he realized the extent of what I was doing.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and I was just in tears. But then that guy had passed a few months later. And that was just a big eye-opener to me. I was like, that could have been me, you know? So, I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling there. I wasn't sure, yeah.
It's important.
Because I feel like as I talk about my addiction and my stories, some like things come back that I forget about as well, you know? Yeah. But, you know, that was special though as well, because my father passed, his 3-year anniversary is coming up Halloween Day now. And but the last couple of years of my relationship with my father was beautiful. Like even when I relapsed that time, I told my parents, I'm like, just let me drink. And my mom's like, you can't. I'm like, just let me drink. My father was like, if you're going to drink, just drink beer or Guinness. And I was like, all right. But you know what it was? Me and my father would just crack open a few cans of Guinness and we would just talk. And I got to know my father more in those sessions or whatever, like just literally the two of us sitting out back talking. And I told him everything that was going on. Every drug that I did, everything that was going on, you know. And I felt like I got really, really close to my father. And then when he passed, I was just like, obviously he was very sad, but I just had this sense of like, oh, you know, I was able to, a sense of like perspective, like everything happened for a reason, you know, like, and I was able to spend time with my parents. I got to relapse in front of them. That's fine, but they got to realize how bad I was as well, like, you know, and everything was just like, everything happened the way it was supposed to happen, like, you know. So I was very super grateful for all that, like even the bad days, you know. And so I'm obviously very fortunate to be here as well, you know.
Do you ever think you would have connected with your dad in that way if not for this past experience?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. So it's like, you know, it's a powerful one as well, isn't it? You know, because it was hard, because even for my brothers and my father to understand like what I was going through as well, you know, because if you think of like masculinity, it's not like fucking, I don't know, it's not going to rehab and talking about your trauma or stuff that was coming up in your childhood and stuff that I carried through my whole childhood, you know, minor things, but I carry them, like, you know, whatever it was, like my father missing an important rugby game, or no one giving me the validation that I was looking for as a kid, you know, whatever the case is. And like, sure, some people can relate to that, but it doesn't have to be like major trauma, you know, like from other people that I've met, like proper trauma, like, you know, abuse,
little things,
small things, you know.
Yeah.
And I realized that in recovery as well. But yeah, I'm super grateful as well for my addiction, because I went back to rehab. I spent more time with my father and my mom and my sister, you know, and they were very like, were so supportive, like, you know. I was just like, I was terrified of my father finding out. I was so scared, you know, but he was so understanding, you know, so I was very lucky that way.
So what, with all of this in mind, and the things you've learned, and the love and care and support you've experienced from the world around you, what lessons have you taken from this for other people in the world? So how are you now going to change the way that you interact in the world based on what you've experienced from others? Yeah,
I think for me it's like vulnerability, you know, like I'm not afraid to be vulnerable now in my relationship with my girlfriend, my mom, my siblings, even friends, bro. How I talk to my friends now is completely different.
And what have you seen?
Oh, well, you know what, man, it's like, it's, if I'm doing that, hopefully that will like help others do that as well, you know, whether it's just a conversation with my friend or me doing a post on social media, you know. It's a powerful thing, like, you know, and I think it's like trying to change that tone just trying to change a narrative on masculinity as well, like, you know, because you think of the old style of man, it's like, you know, buckle up, strap your belt and you're fine, to hold your feelings to yourself, whereas in fact it's like you're seeing the complete opposite now, like, and I think it's a beautiful thing, like, and I think if someone was talking, if I heard myself talking now, like I would cringe back in the day, you know, but I'm very proud of who I am and what I stand for and my story and my struggles and everything that comes with it.
I've done a few episodes with some men's health coaches. One standout guy is a guy called Connor Baton. His Instagram's Man Talks.
Okay, yes, we were talking about him.
Yeah. And
I share his things. I share his posts a lot, bro.
He's great.
Powerful.
He's great. And I think I've been thinking about this a lot, because it's hard. It's a hard place to get an understanding of in 2024, especially. Like there's a big push to be feminine, but then there's this, you know, especially in romantic settings, this still expectation to be masculine. And it's like, how the fuck do you manage that? And I think I've come to this conclusion that the masculinity is an understanding of the emotions and the feelings, but then an ability to be strong in spite of them. But if you throw it away and push it down, that's when it comes out. It's like a kettle. Yeah. It's going to come out any fucking hole it can once it's hit boiling point. And it can be managed effectively and appropriately and tastefully, or it can be managed dysfunctionally. And I think that's what a really powerful masculine direction is now. Yeah,
I think so. Someone told me there one time, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was like, for me, I remember telling my sister when I came out of treatment, I was like, you know, I just want to help other people, you know? And I was like, but I can't help other people if I'm not helping myself. And that might sound like a selfish thing, but it's a fact, like, you know? I can't talk the talk if I'm not walking the walk, and it starts from inside, like, you know? So for me, it's like, yeah, I do want to help and inspire people, but it's not possible to help everyone, you know? So for me, it's just like focusing on myself, and that will have an effect on other people, whether you know it or not, you know? And that goes with everything, like, you know, you setting up this podcast, you moved into New York, people might not message you and congratulate you on what you're doing, but they see it, you know? And I think for us, especially as men, you know, it's like, just keep doing your thing, keep spreading positivity, you know? And just for me, it's like, I want to be, and I get to be my true authentic self. And if that strikes a chord with other men, amazing. If not, well, it might soon.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
You can't build a castle on a foundation of sand.
Yeah, why not?
Well, you need a good foundation.
you
need to create that base in yourself to be able to like build around you.
Yeah.
So, which is extremely important.
Yeah, it starts from within, like, and we go to like, starts from within, and it starts from like, you know, building your habits and finding a purpose, and for even like finding that, because it's such a broad question, isn't it? Like, what's your purpose in life? But it's just like, if you don't know what your purpose in life is, just keep going until you find it. You know, it's like going back to Matthew McConaughey, like his Oscar speech. He talks about like him seeing himself in 5 years' time, and then he gets there in 5 years' time, and him seeing himself in 15 years' time or 10 years' time, whatever the case is. And it's such a powerful message. It's like, keep going. You know, keep going. And that's where I look at myself. Like, if I could go back in 5 years' time and see where I am today, I'd be like absolutely shocked, you know. But
5 years is a long time.
5 years,
a lot can happen in 5 years.
You can do a lot in 5 years.
I think about that.
Crazy.
I'm 32 now, so I was 28. Yeah, this is not what I was expecting. And it's crazy that we're here now.
You can do a lot in a year, bro, you know?
Yeah.
You can do a lot in a few months.
Yeah.
Like, coming from a fitness side of things as well, like, you know, you can do a lot in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
You know? It's just like not waiting for the right time. I think that's, you know, and that's going back to recovery as well. It's like, I'd always said, no, I'll start next week. I'll start next week. I'll do this month. I'll do this week. I'll do today. Now it's just today. Yeah. You know, now it's just today. It's just like, keep it in the day, you know, try not to overwhelm yourself by taking on too much or thinking too much at one time, you know?
Yeah. Well, on that note, with purpose and the vision of your life, if you were to give an elevator pitch of who you are, what you do, and how you're contributing to the world, what does that sound like?
31-year-old Irish man, living in New York City, living a healthy lifestyle, telling people about my struggles and my story and hoping to inspire them and others, whether you're a man, you know, man or a female, whatever, male or female, whatever the case is. And again, just being my true authentic self and hoping to help others around the world through social media and just whatever else that comes with it, you know?
Okay. What's going on with the coaching?
Yeah, so I do personal training around New York. So that's one-to-one. And then I have an online business as well. So that kind of obviously reaches a broader audience around the world. And, you know, just like your typical like meal plans, training plans, accountability and stuff like that. So it's getting people in shape, but it's also like helping them with their habits. And obviously my sobriety comes into my coaching sometimes, because I'm not a sober coach. I don't think I will be, but you know, it's just like people buy into my story because I think I'm helping people without knowing I'm helping them, you know? Once I started talking on my social media platforms about my addiction, like I was getting more messages on that than anything else I've ever posted before, you know? So that in itself is a powerful one.
What do you think it is?
I guess people can relate to it, whether it's themselves or it's someone in their community or network, or whatever the case is, family or friends. Like, I believe everyone has had someone who has had struggles with drugs or alcohol or any sort of mental health disease, you know what I mean? Whether it's anxiety or depression, you know? I never knew what that was until I had an anxiety attack, and I would always say, I feel depressed, but I had to really like look inside. I'm like, all right, well, what am I doing with my life? You know, not with my life, what am I doing with myself? Like, you know, I'm sleeping too late, I'm eating too much sugar, whatever the case is. It starts with the simple things, but it's easier said than done as well. So going back to like asking for help, having no shame around asking for help, that's so important.
You mentioned earlier that you had an embarrassment around asking for help. So run me through what the thought process around that was and what you do differently now and how you've managed to kind of like frame this in a better way. Yeah,
it's Jamal, that's a great question. I think for me, it was just like I had so much shame because I was doing some good things in life, you know? So I was doing some good things in life. So
you don't
I felt
sound
like,
confident on that sentence.
Yeah, I like describe good things in life. Okay, I was going out partying in nightclubs. I went on a reality dating show.
Deep down, are they good things?
Not really.
Okay.
Good things I thought at the time.
Okay.
So
but you don't think that anymore?
No, I don't. No.
What makes you say that?
Because my mindset has changed on that. You know, it's like, do I have any regrets on it? Absolutely not. But I feel like for me, it's like my purpose is a lot bigger now. You know, it's just like, it's being who I am and helping others and just spending more time with my family and loved ones. You know, that's super important. I was avoiding that a lot of the time as well, because I feel like I went home for my dad's birthday in 2019. I just came off Love Island about a month, and I wanted to tell my family about my addiction, but I felt that I would be too selfish because of my dad's illness, you know, and my dad only had a couple of years at the time left, and we didn't know that, but we knew it was coming close. But I had a lot of shame around it as well, you know. I felt like I was a complete failure, you know, a complete failure. I was getting a lot of messages at the time and congratulations on the show and everything like that, but I thought I just like was a complete failure, you know. I just wasn't happy with everything.
So it's interesting that the world around you would tell you one thing, but you would feel completely different. I feel like that's a common theme that you hear from people who are in the public eye.
Yeah.
So what would have made you not feel like a failure, you know, after Love Island, after like growing, you've got a pretty good social media presence now, like you're doing some good stuff. You're in a really great space. You're sober. You've had a few more like positive, like fun experiences, like with Mr. World and stuff. So, you know, what's changed now? You know, like why is it any different? But it seems like it's different.
Yeah, it's completely different. Like what I was doing.
So in your head, the only thing that's changed is your head.
Yeah.
So what changed?
Yes, it's just the relationship to myself. Like it started internally, like, you know. But at the time, like, you kind of have to understand, like, I felt like there was no way out. You know, I felt like going back to that loneliness, that isolation that I was doing with myself. You know, whereas now, in fact, it's like I'm around people. I know I can express my feelings, my love to my peers, my girlfriend, my mom, my siblings. You know, I never really did that. You know, I felt like embarrassed around that because honestly, I didn't feel like I was loved. I feel like I'm very loved now. Like, you know, and that's a good feeling. Like, you know, and I think that's important. I think it's important to express love to your loved ones. You know, I'm going to be around my family all week this week, and I can't wait. And a lot of my family are meeting my girlfriend for the first time on Friday. And like, I just can't wait for it because I'm just going to be around just my loved ones, you know. Yeah. And I don't know, did I answer your question there about it? Because it's a hard one, because it's like at the time I just felt like I was so alone and there was no way out.
But what was the basis of that? What was the grounding kind of reasoning? Because there's a reason why I want to dig into this, because this is a common challenge with many people.
Yeah.
And you hear so many stories of people, you know, that commit suicide and then they have hundreds or thousands of people come to their funeral. And it's probably a common thought of no one loves me. I'm not worthy. I'm better off not. Basically what you're saying to the world when you do that is the world is better off without me.
Yeah. And that's what I thought as well.
So what changed? Why?
I was never communicating with my family and friends then. You know, I was hiding what was going on inside. I was hiding what was going on inside because I was terrified of what they thought of me, you know. I was terrified of the feedback. There was a part of my brain that was saying, get sober, your life is going to be a hell of a lot better. And there was other side of my brain saying, do more drugs, drink more alcohol. It's going to come to an end.
Devil and the angel.
Oh, it is completely, bro, completely. You know, so there was one side saying you're going to live, everything's going to be good. The other side saying you're going to die. Keep going the way you're going to die. And
so how do you listen to the one that's more helpful?
Yeah, I know. Well, you know what? I guess it started with, like, you know, picking up the phone.
Yeah, picking up the phone.
Yeah. So asking for help, you know, no shame around it, whatever you're doing in your life, however you're feeling in your life, ask for help, man. You know, that we just need it as people. Like, you know, it's just like we can't do anything on our own in life, you know. That's why I think it's just having that community, having that relationship to yourself or with yourself and with everyone in your life. It's super important, because you don't know what's going on in someone's life until you ask them.
No, you don't.
And then even after you ask them first, you're going to have to ask a few more questions as well, because it's like, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm good. That's all I used to say. Yeah, I'm all right. If someone had asked me even more, if they got a little deeper, but then I might have said, things aren't good.
Okay.
You know? So it's just like caring with the question, not just saying the question, you know? Actually wanting to know, how are you doing? You know? Because I didn't care when I asked people questions, because really I felt like when they were asking me, they didn't care, but they did. A lot of people did, you know? But I was pushing away any help. Because honestly, bro, I was so terrified of giving up alcohol and drugs because I was so addicted to it. Like, you know what I mean? It was just like, the thing is with addiction and people who've never been addicted, like it's hard to understand. It's like going, like doing this for so long, you don't see your life without it. You know what I mean? It's like sleep, bro. It's like you can't go on life like was your day with a good or without any sleep. That's what drugs was like for me. It was like my sleep. And the way I look at it now, it's just like cocaine was like that crazy ex-girlfriend that I could not stop going back to. But I was obsessed with it, like, you know, I was absolutely obsessed with it. Like I went to bed with a bag underneath my pillow and, you know, I woke up with an empty bag. Like, do you know what I mean? That's how it was, like. And I woke up, even when I wasn't using it, I went to bed thinking about coke. I woke up thinking about coke, you know?
Do you have an addictive personality generally?
So yeah, I do. But I came out of rehab and I went on this radio show and I talked to this recovering heroin addict called Brian Penny, right? Powerful man. I'm sorry, not powerful man, powerful story, right? And now I'm pretty sure he's a lecturer in a university in Dublin at the moment. And he had asked me on the radio, he said, why do you think you were drinking and drugging? And I said to him, I have an addictive personality. And then we went on with the interview, and after the call, he basically said something like, that's not the reason you were drinking and drugging. Because everyone can have an addictive personality, but you can be addicted to work or sex or a healthy lifestyle. Like I don't think I'm addicted to a healthy lifestyle now. I think I have a good balance with it. I enjoy my pizza, my few slices of pizza here. I like my candy here. You know, I like certain things. You know, I'm not like 100% strict. Like it's finding a balance as well. So like, yes, I do. I feel like I have an addictive personality. It's definitely more controlled now. But back in the day, I thought I was an addict because I was an addictive personality, and I like doing things that got me outside of my thoughts. But I was an addict because of certain things that honestly happened in my life as well, you know. And then once I got that validation and that high, I couldn't stop going back to it, you know. And honestly, it was just like I was never able to sit with my thoughts sober ever. And when something bad was happening, I would drink and use and I would forget about it, and then it would come back again, and then I'll go back again and I'll forget about it. And that was the cycle, back and forth, you know.
So have you been able to, you know, with this, in quotations, addictive personality, channel that energy into something more productive now?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I won't say work because I'm actually not addicted to work at all, but I'm a very easy go guy. That's why like modeling is great. Like you go on set and for a couple of days and you get paid. I'm like, that's fine. But I love what I do because part of personal training is you're connecting with people. So my energy is expended with those people as well, but it comes back to me as well. So I get my connection there, and then I go home and, you know, I live with one of my best friends. I go home and then I recharge, you know. I always have like a recharge weekend. So it's a balance between that as well. And I put my focus, into myself, you know. It starts within, like, you know, and then I can give what I can give, you know, but I never overdo it, but I'm very aware of my limit as well. And you know, of my behaviors and habits.
And you mentioned before, you were talking about the cycle was getting outside of your thoughts because you couldn't sit with yourself sober. What happened? You eventually had to sit with yourself. So what were the techniques that you undertook to be able to sit with yourself and work through those things without the need of the escape?
Great question. And I think this is relevant to everyone, right? Like people who were like addicts or not, or people who aren't addicts. For me, like it's still uncomfortable doing it, you know. It's like it's uncomfortable sitting with my thoughts. I allow myself to do that now because my thoughts are a lot better than what they were. There is days where I feel a little low, you know, but I'm allowing myself to feel those feelings, whereas before I ran from them, you know. So like I do therapy now. I have a therapist. I have my families and friends. I have my sober community that I can talk to as well. So it's constant connection and constant honesty as well. And yeah, man, I feel like even this is a little therapy session, you know. I communicate like this to my girlfriend as well if I'm having a bad day or whatever else. And I allow people to come to me with how they're doing as well. It's not just about me, because I can be a selfish prick as well, bro. I wake up in the morning. I think generally a lot of people are like that as well. They wake up in the morning, they think about themselves. They go to bed in the morning, they're thinking about themselves, and it's a cycle like that. So it's just like we talked about gratitude earlier on as well. Meditation isn't as active in my life right now as it was before, but it's there. I think I told you this. I used the app called Calm, and I've been using it ever since I came out of treatment as well. So it's guided meditation. So it's things like that, bro. It's like, it's doing the internal work, whether it's therapy or journaling or just simple conversations with friends, whereas I would have chased or disregarded any of that before. Or sorry, not chased, I would have ran away or disregarded any of that before. Anything that would have hit a nerve or would have, because I was very angry, bro. Anyone that confronted me on my issues, I was very angry. Like,
it's just a reaction mechanism, to push people away, so you don't have to deal with it.
I was so defensive, like, you know.
Yeah.
One of my friends that I worked in nightlife with was going out with this girl before, and they were arguing, and I remember I was getting in the middle of it or whatever else was happening, and she said to me in her broken English, she's like, "You're a cokehead." and I looked at my friend and I was like, as if to say, like, what are you going to do about that? You know?
He's like,
he's like, "Bro, you are." And I was like, oh my God. You know? So there was always moments like that, bro, that like people probably listened, they're probably like, come on, you should have done something there. But I was just like, I didn't care, but I was just like, I did, but like, you know, my addictive behavior just came back in. It just took over. Like, you know, I was just like, fuck this, fuck everyone. I don't want anyone's fucking help. You know, I was so sensitive and frail, you know, mentally and physically.
Just quickly though, I want to talk to you about a taboo but very important topic: sperm health. I bet you didn't think I was going there. One day I want to have kids, and like any future parent, I want to give them the best shot at a healthy life. But let's face it, we're at a war every day with our health in this modern world. Chemicals, microplastics, and artificial environments are wreaking havoc on our internal systems at every turn. And if you know me, you know I'm obsessed with health, and the health of my swimmers have been on my mind for a number of years. That's why we've partnered with Legacy, who are changing the game in at-home sperm testing and freezing in the US. Did you know that globally, sperm counts have dropped by 50% in the last 40 years? Let that sink in for one moment. This is not just a fertility problem as well, because low sperm quality has been linked to a high risk of testicular cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and even early death. And on top of that, your sperm quality begins to decline around age 30, and by your 40s, the risk of infertility and having a chance of a child with neurological disorder begins to go up. So testing and freezing now may be the best decision I make for my future family, and potentially you too. So Legacy makes it easy. They send a kit straight to your door. You do the business in the comfort of your own home, and in 48 hours, the results are on your phone. Plus, you can freeze your sample at 2 secure locations for peace of mind. So if you're like me and you want to be proactive with your future, as well as support the podcast, head over to givelegacy.com and use the code TOT at checkout for 10% off. That's givelegacy.com using the code TOT for 10% off. Thanks for listening. Now back to the podcast.
You know?
Okay. Yeah. It's there's a lot in it. There's a lot in it to unpack, to really get to the core of, you know, why people go down these paths. But if I were to recap, it's just using something that's potentially damaging as a way to get away from working on uncomfortable feelings. That's kind of at the core of it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, of course, because I was terrified of my thoughts and how I felt, you know?
Yeah.
Because I was trying to portray this like guy who was like, oh, living this dream life, you know?
Yeah.
I go back to movies, bro. I love movies, and I was living in Australia at the time, and Wolf of Wall Street came out, and I was obsessed with it. Like, just Leonardo DiCaprio in it. And then I go to the movie Blow with Johnny Depp.
But what happens at the ending of both of those movies?
I know. So that's where I'm going with it. That's where I'm going with it. But I wanted my life to look like that. You know, I wanted to be the man in the center of attention, doing the coke, being around the women, everything else with it. Like, and it's, for me, like, even saying this now, it sounds so pathetic, like, but that was my thought process around it, like, you know. And I was getting that in the nightlife scene in New York.
And then you got the end.
And then I got the end, you know.
Did you not think during the time, you're like, how did this end in both movies?
I never played the tape.
You never played you never watched the end.
I No, I always watch the movie.
You just checked out about 2/3 in.
But there's a little message in what I'm saying. Like, I never played the tape for my story. My movie. I never played the tape.
Yeah.
I knew what was going to happen to a certain extent, but the highs were always overcoming the lows until the lows overcame the highs.
Yeah.
You know? And it happened so fast. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
It happened so fast.
See, one of my movies that I really go back to is American Psycho.
I watched that recently.
It's such a good movie.
There's a lot in that as well.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Great morning routine.
Great morning routine. Goes to shit at night time.
Sounds like me. Except instead of murdering people, I'm eating insomniac cookies at 2 in the morning.
They're dangerous.
And gnocchi in Lower East Side and hating myself for it.
Fuck. My first time eating gnocchi was in Australia, actually.
Some good shit.
Yeah.
And it's good for you. It's just potato.
Yeah, it's potatoes.
Potatoes.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, so I don't know, man. I just like, and even I just say to people, like, whatever you do, because I was a very reactive person. Like, is that the right word? Reactive. I was very like, I would just like, boom. If something's in my head, I'm going to do it. You know.
Impulsive.
Sorry, I was a very impulsive person. So if something was in my head, I did it straight away. You know.
Yeah. So
that's why it was just like when I was trying to get sober, I was just like, it was so easy for me to get my drugs and go out and drink. And I would just do it, man. And I wouldn't play the tape, you know. I never fucking played the tape in my life, you know. Or at least when I did, I played it up until the good part ends. I know. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's you got to watch the end of the movies.
Always.
I got a lot to say.
Yeah.
There's you talk about consistent routines a lot now, and I know there's a lot of people that struggle with, you know, consistency in their fitness and their mental health. And what are some ways that you've seen that work to allow people to build consistency in healthy habits?
Everyone's got to realize that everyone's on a different level, right, when it comes to consistency, right? So everyone's like, what you're seeing on social media, right, is the perfect routine. And I've even been guilty of it as well, posting my routine, perfect routine. And I've kind of came away from that as well, because my routine isn't perfect, you know, but I'll do to the best of my ability, right? So it always starts, for me, we talk about the morning routine, but it kind of starts from the night before. It's like laying your clothes out, setting your alarm. For me, it's prepping my food, knowing what I'm going to have for breakfast. It's simple things. When people don't do that, they're missing the morning, and then it all of a sudden skips to lunchtime. And all of a sudden they're back at dinner time as well, and they've completely missed their morning their morning and lunchtime routine. So it's like, it starts with the simple things, man, you know. And I know people don't like hearing that, but it does start with the simple things. Writing down what you need to do for the day is always a good one as well. That was always told to me, like, and that's what, because when I was getting sober, I was reaching out to people, and people were telling me, like, because to help me with my routine. And I went 13 months sober, and then my dad passed, and then I relapsed. But in that 13 months, I was going pure military, bro, running. Like, I was meditating and journaling as well, but I was just writing it down to do it. I was ticking the boxes. Whereas now it's like, I'll tick my boxes, but I'm aware of what I'm ticking. Does that make sense? I'm not just ticking them for the sake of ticking them and making sure that everyone else knows that I'm ticking those boxes. I'm ticking the boxes and I'm aware of what I'm doing for myself. You know, so it's like, because I have clients, bro, they're very beginner, intermediate level as well. So it's just like, understanding where they're coming from as well, because it's hard as well from a coaching perspective. Sometimes it's like, oh, well, why can't you do this? It's like, well, look, everyone's on a different level, you know, so don't be looking on social media especially and seeing what everyone's doing and their perfect day and their perfect routine. It does exist for some people, but it's not realistic for a lot of people.
Well, or it exists for these people, but they're also fucking miserable.
Yeah.
So what's the metric of success here?
Yeah, well, it's just like realizing.
Is it things, or is it like internal peace? Like, what's more important? Yeah. Would you prefer to be at peace and genuinely happy with none of the accolades and experiences you've had, or be in your constant state of misery, but like layering on win after win after win and fucking famous person after famous? Like, what's better?
Of course, it's the peace. It's the peace, bro. Peace and happiness. You know, that's what you want. And I reckon a lot of people will say that, but they won't mean that, you know. But for the peace and happiness and clarity that you strive for in my life, and I feel like I have it, or I feel like I'm on my way to achieve it. I won't say achieving it because it's a lifelong thing that I want. But for the peace and happiness and clarity that you strive for in my life, and I feel like I have it, or I feel like I'm on my way to achieve it. I won't say achieving it because it's a lifelong thing that I want. For the peace and happiness and clarity that you strive for in my life, and I feel like I have it, or I feel like I'm on my way to achieve it. I won't say achieving it because it's a lifelong thing that I want. those things or whatever will come if you want it, but I feel like what you put out is what you attract back in, you know what I mean? And that goes for people, success, whatever the case is. And I've got a little glimpse of it, bro. A little glimpse of it, you know. It's just like these little wins that come into my life, you know, are probably things that I never thought about before. But they're the simple things, you know. Like, I think that's powerful as well, though. It's like, you know, it's a lot of successful people. Are they happy? I would say they are, but I would say, you know, you go back to the movies, bro, Hollywood. You look at all these actors and singers, and a lot of them have been in rehab. A lot of them have committed suicide, you know, and they had everything, like, you know.
Except for love, generally.
Except for love, yeah.
Love for themselves, probably, and then love from their, like, deep, internal, close family unit.
But I think the narrative is changing on what everything is, right? Yeah, of course, there's all these guys in Dubai posting their fucking girlfriends and their Lamborghinis and stuff, but I don't want that shit, bro. I just want just happiness and peace of mind, and just like, yeah, man, just experiences, you know? I think that's what life is about, is like good or bad experiences. Learn from them, enjoy them, and just thrive for more good experiences in life. I think that's super important. I think that's what, and good people, bro.
Yeah,
you know?
it comes down to the people. I want to show you something. Where is it? Let me go get it.
Yeah.
But I've been doing every day lately, and I love it. We talked earlier about the 5-minute journal.
Yeah.
So I just started using this, which is like the 5-minute productivity planner.
Okay.
They have like the same thing. Have you seen this one?
Yeah.
It's been sitting in my in my
I have
drawer.
two of them.
It's been sitting in my drawer for fucking years, and I've never touched it.
Guilty of it as well.
And recently, just this idea of writing out my day, or like writing out the things I want to do during the day, started happening.
Yeah.
And I like used a 5-minute journal for a while, and then I stopped, and then I got to this point where I was just getting a piece of paper the night before, just like you're saying, and going like playing out in my head how I want my day to look, like by the half an hour. Yeah. And I just was like, okay, look, maybe it's not going to happen, but like, if I want to do 10 things today, realistically, what am I actually going to do? And as I wrote it down on this piece of paper, it's like, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to brush my teeth, I'm going to make a smoothie, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And it's like, oh fuck, I'm at 11 o'clock. Do I actually want to do all this? Or am I going to, and I started genuinely thinking through what I can actually get done in a day, genuinely. Yeah. And then I started having to prioritize. I'm like, fuck, I can like say I want to do 10 things, but am I? No, unlikely. And then I like came back to this, and I was like, oh, it's literally got the planner that I'm doing. It's got everything nicely set up. So now it's like the night before, I'm looking at the next day, like you, and I'm going, there's 3 or 5 tasks that I want to do. Yeah. And I write them down the night before, and I approximate how much time I'm going to spend on those tasks. And then I go, all right, great. How does my day look to try and get those tasks done? Yeah. And it's like morning routine, work, commute, podcast, you know, dinner. So it's like, I'm not going to get any of these tasks done today.
It's a good little journal.
But it's a great little journal. It's got like little notes on the side, and I've started doing like literally checking off my morning, every single task I want to get done for the day. And I'm noticing I'm way more effective with my days because of this. And it's like, I can fuck around. I always fuck around. I will see something, like I get an email and then I'm down like a rabbit hole, or I like, you know, go on Instagram and then I'm down another fucking rabbit hole, or I see this article and I'm like down this rabbit hole. Sometimes they're useful, but a lot of times they're not. Yeah. And just the act of setting like what the night before, what is the most important thing that I want to get done today after I get done through some like basic habits has been helpful, because now it's like the second stage to this was also using using like a Pomodoro technique and being like, okay, I can do it, this task might take 2 Pomodoro like times. So like an hour. Yes. And then you check off, you go, all right, I'm going to do 1 and then I'm going to take a break, and then check it off. It's like, oh, am I actually going to get this done in 2, or is it going to take 4?
It won't be perfect from the start.
No, it won't be, but it's been really powerful. So like,
I'm getting back to that.
Get into it, man. It's like, if you got one sitting there.
I have 2 of them, bro.
Yeah, dude. Well, if you don't want them, give them to me.
I'm actually I love 5-minute journal. Everyone, I feel like a lot of people have it. Yeah. And it just makes it a lot easier as well, bro, because you can I get overwhelmed sometimes if I have too much to do, but once you write it out on a piece of paper and you start ticking them, and going back to what was talk about like ticking your boxes, but being aware of what you're ticking as well and how that makes you feel. And there's a nice sense of accomplishment from that as well.
It's like a positive loop.
Very much so.
Positive, like, feedback loop of like, I've done this and great, like celebrate that little win and then move on to the next one, as opposed to being like, gotta do it. Oh, I'm anxious, I'm stressed. This is like this intense state of mind that doesn't actually, you kind of don't even like find the nuggets of, you know, positive outcomes in meditating if you're just sitting there just being like, I gotta fucking get through 10 minutes. You know?
Yeah.
It's like
100%.
chill, bro.
I want to mention this. We went out to Devon's farm there about a month ago, and how good was that sauna and cold plunge?
Oh man, I love it. Fuck, I love it.
I'm upset. I'm obsessed, bro. I'm going to bring my family to a gym tomorrow. We're doing an ice plunge, sauna, steam. Nice. I'm obsessed with that, bro.
Yeah, I want to get Devon on the podcast. I don't know how to do that yet, but we'll figure it out.
I'm sure he'll do it, bro. Yeah.
I'll have to ask him.
Yeah. He's a hard guy to get, though.
He's a hard guy to get.
Busy guy.
Busy man, for sure.
Good guy, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very
Great
fun.
guy.
Yeah. So you have spoken about your, you know, rediscovering your purpose, rediscovering, it sounds like your community and your family was really important in getting back to, you know.
Yeah. Or just navigating where I'm going.
Yeah, navigating where you're going. So like what steps did you take to then align the work you're doing now with that purpose? Was it purpose first and then like alignment to a task, to a job second? Or was it, let's try this. And then it was like, this felt good.
Sometimes it's trial and error, but honestly, I just started listening to what other people were telling me. So
God forbid.
I know. I was running around rehab.
Yeah.
I was like, it's so funny. I went into rehab. I was like 165 pounds. I took into my tub of protein. They took it off me. They're like, you can't have this. So I started running. One of the counselors said to me, she was like, you need to slow down because it's not your body, it's your mind. But then she said to me, she was like, she was getting to know me. And obviously I was a rugby player and I played lots of sports. And she was like, why don't you get into fitness? And I was like, fuck off. You know, I was so resentful, bro. I was like, don't tell me what to do. And then my mom had said, you know, I did a fitness course when I was 21 and then my mom had said to me when I came out of rehab, she was like, why don't you get your personal trainer certs again? And I was like, okay. It was as simple as that. I started listening to people, you know. I obviously had my goals in my head. I wanted to come back to New York and get signed with a big agency, and I did that. But for me, it was just started with things that I was doing my whole life. Training. I love training, bro. I love training and being around people. And I kind of just fit into my lifestyle that I've forgotten about for all those years. And now I'm like, this worked out perfectly, you know, but I never saw that at the time, you know. I was just like resentful. I was like, no, because as humans, how we think, we want everything right now. Yeah. At least I do, you know. Yeah. You know, I'm a bit better in it. I think that's why I loved drinking and drugging, because it's instant. Do a line, instant high. Yeah. Have a couple of drinks, instant drunk. Yeah. So I just started listening to people, bro. You know, not like putting my ego aside and taking advice, good or bad, you know, because you're not always going to get great advice, but you're going to listen anyway. And that's an important skill as well. I feel like not everyone has, you know. I feel like I'm better at it now than I ever was before, is just listening to what people have to say. And yeah, that kind of led me into the direction where I am right now. And, you know, I'm very grateful for that.
Do you think listening to people more, I mean, you got to be discerning with who you listen to.
Yeah, of course.
But listening to people helps. You were able to listen to people better when you began to slow down a little bit, and your mind began to slow down?
100%. Yeah. I met this guy. He's one of my best friends now, Scott Thomas. He lives in Manchester. His family are famous for like they're actors, and Scott was on Love Island UK back in the day, and he's a big presenter and social media guy now. But I lived with him for 4 months in Manchester, and I saw how he lived his lifestyle, and he's a very hectic lifestyle, but ultimately, you know, he was in the health and fitness scene as well for a while, but I got this sense of belief from him, from what I was doing, you know, and we were helping each other. And that was the first time I was just like, I think I can do this. Yeah. You know, I think I can do this. And it was just that, you know, sense of accomplishment, or receiving, what's the word I'm looking for? Receiving, oh my God.
Support and validation, maybe?
Support and validation, receiving support and compliments off it, you know? This is what I always say to clients as well, like, compliments can come in different ways. It's not just like, oh, you look great. It's like, you know, compliments. It could be like how you see yourself in the mirror, like the scale, or how you feel, your energy, your mood. For men, libido. Compliments from people on the street, you know, your work colleagues. So many different forms of compliment. It's like, or even just receiving, even you giving a compliment to someone and someone saying thank you for doing that. That's a compliment in itself, you know, because you're making someone, that is like, complimenting each other is so important, bro. You know, like
spreading a bit of positivity.
Oh, 100%, bro. It can literally make someone's day.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't overdo it, you know, it doesn't, like, even if it's with the opposite sex, like, you know, it's like you don't overdo it, but it's just coming from like a good place. You know, I think it's super important. It's just like showing support. Like I always back my friends. Like I love my friends, seeing them do well. Yeah, I fucking love it. Yeah, and I get that back as well. Like, you know, I've especially in my sobriety, I've never seen like as much support from my family and friends over the last couple of years. It's been unreal, bro. It's such a good feeling.
Yeah, that's good. So how will you apply that to the relationships in your life now?
Oh, well, that's how I live now. Like, you know, it's like, that's how I live. So sometimes like you can spread positivity and inspiration without actually doing anything, you know. It's just like, I reckon, like, if you're living a true authentic or being your true authentic self, that'll have an effect on people, whether you know it or not, you know. And I'm not looking to have that effect on people, you know. I'm not like, I'm not doing that for that reason. I'm going to do this because I know it's going to have an effect on people. I'm just like, for me, it's like, oh, I'm just going to tell my story, be my true authentic self, and hopefully that will help people, you know.
Well, that's a good point that I'd love to dig into, which was like, how do you with social media now? You've got a bit of a following. I don't know, how did that following? What was kind of the timeline of that following building? Was it like Love Island, and then, or did it build after Love Island? Like, what was the time period?
So I had about 20,000 followers when I was working in nightlife. Okay. I came off Love Island, I had 44,000 followers.
And you're sitting on what, like 150 or something?
140 now. Like almost 300k between TikTok and Instagram. Yeah. Or like 250,000, something like that. Yeah. And but it really started to grow over the last year and a half. Yeah. And that was just through
authenticity
and
talking about
that
fitness, and
but also just my lifestyle, bro. My lifestyle was fitness, self-care, big one. And this, like, because I'm not going to say I built my following because I started talking about my sobriety. That's a part of it, but I started talking more on camera, sharing my lifestyle advice. I used to post a lot of skincare stuff that people loved as well. I do my fashion reels now as well. So it's everything that I do in my life from the inside out. Yeah. You know, and I feel like people have bought into that as well, you know? Yeah. Because social media is a bit of a mindfuck, bro. You grow a little bit and all of a sudden it's stagnant as well. Like, and you feel like, oh, am I doing something wrong here? So it's just like, you have to kind of come back and realize that, no, you're in the right place as well. Just keep doing it as well, because it's not always going to be constant growth with social media as well. But you don't know who your message is actually reaching. That's the beautiful thing about social media, bro, you know. And especially when I talk about my sobriety, like I posted my 2-year sobriety in July. I posted a few TikToks recently as well, and I'm posting a lot more as well, because I realized, like, okay, I have a powerful message, and I need people to hear it as well, you know, because you just don't know. Even from this podcast, bro, I guarantee you it's gonna reach someone, and they may or may not reach out to me or you, but that for me is enough, like, you know. I don't need for them to reach back out to me. I just want that message to be heard. Yeah, definitely. Well, how do you manage the pressure of comparison while also staying authentic? That's a really tough one. It's a tough one. So many people get lost. Yeah, especially when I was coming into the fitness industry as well. I was looking at what other people were doing, and I was basically kind of copying and pasting, doing that. But now it's just like, it didn't feel right, bro. I'm like, this doesn't feel right, you know? Yeah. So yeah, man, it's just like, before I post, because obviously I post what I do in my life as well, but now, because of what I'm doing in my life, I have representation with my social media, and now I'm getting more brand deals as well. So it's like, but again, it's going back to, you're only going to see me post fitness, fashion, or skincare. Yeah, because that's what I do. That's what I do in my day to day. Like I love how the 3 Fs: fitness, fashion, and face. Fitness, fashion, and face. But that's what it is, man. So it's like I work with clothing companies, skincare companies. Actually, just one skincare company, Caldera Lab. I work with them. they're unreal. If you're looking for skincare, they're fucking amazing. And I'm not even just dropping them because I work with them, but I was buying their product before I started working with them.
Yeah.
That's a good thing for me. I was like, wow, this is cool. This is like almost like manifestation coming through.
Yeah, we love that.
But without with manifestation, I think it's a tricky one. People just think they'll manifest everything in their life. The manifestation is a small percentage. It's the actual work that gets you. It's the work and the manifestation that gets you what you want.
Yeah.
I don't want to say get you what you want, but it's just like builds you towards your goals.
Yeah, I've got a very, very clear thought around this, which is the vision in your mind begins to prime your brain in a way that filters information in that it thinks is going to be helpful to get that vision to occur.
Yeah.
So you have to begin with thinking about what you want.
Yeah.
And this is a challenge of like, I tend to have a bit of a negative bias sometimes, and like I notice that I think negative things and then negativity will just begin to be seen everywhere. But if you can break that and flip it into, this is what I want, this is how I'm going to approach it, this is where I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And you see that vision in your head, your brain begins to show you pathways to get to that. And then you need to take action on those pathways. Yeah. And in the process of taking action on those pathways of the vision that you see in your mind, the universe and the world, sounding woo-woo, begins to go, all right, he's doing it. Let's give him some more.
Yeah.
Or just like you start rustling up shit, and then things just start to happen, and then things just start to connect. Yeah. And it all comes from that, your mind's eye saying and seeing who you're going to be, but also just having the balls to do it. Yeah. So I think that's how I've like framed it out into my head.
I think it's just like a piece of the puzzle, bro. Like you have like the manifestation as well, so you have the work ethic as other, like your habits, self-belief, determination.
Yeah. You don't have to believe in yourself to move forward though. That's sometimes true. Like the self-belief comes by just fucking giving it a crack.
But that's what I'm saying, it's the next piece of the puzzle that will come.
Yeah.
It starts like the foundation, whatever that foundation looks like for you. Yeah. But I think certain things will come in. That's a great point actually, because obviously if there's people listening that are like, well, I don't believe in myself, it's like that will come eventually. Yeah. Start small and that will come eventually.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Just get it going and see what happens. Yeah. But also it's really hard to build confidence in yourself if you try something for like a week and then you quit.
Yeah, of course.
Like it takes like 3 to 6 months to even have anything really move.
I was doing interviews around New York about a year ago. I was doing like Chats with Mac was my series, right? And I should have stuck with him. But anyway, it is what it is. But I was doing a series on confidence, and I was asking people on the streets, like, what is confidence from you? And I can't remember everyone's response, but I was doing it for a couple of days, like, but it was just interesting. But, a lot of it just came down to like, the individual, like their internal work, like, it's like, it doesn't necessarily come from the outside looking in. Of like what a person or how a person looks or how they dress and what they're driving and how much money they have in their wallet. It's like confidence can be hidden as well, like, and it's like, I think that's a powerful thing. And just because, and if you are confident inside, it doesn't mean it needs to match the out or inside. If you're confident inside, it doesn't mean it needs to match the outside as well. It's just like stick to who you are. You don't have to do what everyone else is doing on the outside lane. Stick to your own lane.
Yeah, it's hard, man.
It is. It's really like hard. I'm saying all these things and it's difficult, but it's just like putting it out there as well. Like, because for me, it's like for me talking about certain things helps. Like, so for example, it's like I might say something, I might have a conversation and say something to someone. They might fire back with me of what they think, and I'll kind of mesh the two together because I'm saying stuff not because I think I'm right. I'm saying it because it's what I'm thinking there and then. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm right, and I'm not trying to be right. I'm just putting out there what I think, and then it's like, again, going back to people, it's like having a conversation. It's like, a conversation can be so powerful, man. Yeah, it can be so powerful, like and
If we go back to the core of the human experience, like put everything aside. Everything that you see that we've learnt has come through stories. Yeah. That's the core of it. Like now we've got textbooks and we've got, all of these other things like social media and posts and stuff. But at the core of it, most of the time it's like entertaining or learning or connecting through a story, through an anecdote. And that's how we visualize the world. Like there's
music, movies.
They're all stories.
Yeah, all stories.
All stories.
Yeah.
I want to flip quickly into just a little bit more on the health and fitness stuff and then some kind of general philosophical components before we finish up.
Okay, I love it.
There's a lot of information on fitness and self-improvement. Like you're a pretty fit guy, so you're doing something right. So how would you suggest people cut through the noise?
Yeah.
And what do you think are just the foundational things that you can do to just become healthier and fitter?
Yeah. I would say find out, like, for instance, because sometimes it's a trial and error thing, right? When I first started getting into fitness, I was 17, 18, and I was looking up to this guy called Steve Cook. He's a big YouTuber, and comparing myself to him and stuff like that. But again, it's like going back to the individual as well. It's like everyone's on a different level. Everyone starts on a different level as well, right? So it's like trying not to compare yourself to others. Know that you're on your own journey as well. Yeah. A lot of fitness trainers will say, find out what you enjoy. And I'm all for that as well, but you're going to have to do some things that you don't enjoy. Like for me, it's like, you know, it starts with sleep. Food is the main component, man.
Yeah,
it's like
sleep and food.
And then for me, you got to be doing some sort of resistance training, like some compound lifting, you know, whether it be CrossFit, kettlebells, dumbbells, whether you hire a trainer, whether you train with a friend who knows more than you. Like that's how I learned as well, you know, and I'm always looking at what other fitness guys are doing. And I will copy and paste some things, but I'll put my own twist to it as well. Because it's like, look, I don't know everything, so I have to go to someone who knows more than me, you know? So like if someone starts... Always, bro.
Always, again, stories, lessons.
Stories. So it's like, you know, like doing your journey with someone else, or at least doing your journey and ask for help. Like,
so finding a good coach,
finding a
good supporter, someone to guide you.
I'm a coach, and I have a coach. Like I had my coach Darragh Mack. He's an Irish guy. He lives in the UK, but he prepped me for Mr. USA. Like, and now we're on. Like, I have 8 weeks to Mr. Universe, so I've been like a family in this week now. The last few weeks I've been like, but I'm dialed in now. Like here on out, I'm 8 weeks strict. But that's my lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's not everyone else's. So you got to start with the
basics. But
basics.
You've got a reason why you're doing it. So that's, you know, there's a vision of what you want ahead, which motivates you through the hardship.
Exactly. And that's my goal at the moment, you know, and then I'll set some new goals next year. I want to get into more high rocks next year, but it's like, I'm not saying you have to get a piece of paper and a pen out and write out your goals, but it does help.
Yeah.
But in order for you to progress, you might need to ask for help as well, whether that be a coach or a friend or whatever the case is. That's important as well, because especially with lifting as well, bro, it's like there's a lot to lifting. You don't just go in and lift weights. You gotta go in and learn the form, everything like that. Yeah. You know, and I always say to my clients, like, we're going to lift the weights up safe. We're going to do the exercise, and we're going to bring it down nice and safe, because you want steady, slow progress. Slow and steady progress wins the race, bro. Always. You know what I mean? And you'll find, without even noticing, that you're being more consistent with yourself. And that's why I always get clients to send photos, because then we can look back at where you were, you know? And it's not always going to be perfect as well. Like, you know what I mean? You're going to have some bad days, whatever the case is, you know what I mean? It's just about not giving up on that as well, because it's like your body is your engine, bro. Like, you know, it's like a car. It's like you're not going to fill a diesel car with unleaded. We call that unleaded back home. Yeah. But you know what I mean? You're not going to fill a diesel car with petrol. Yeah. It's not going to run. Yeah. So it's like, why are you fueling your body with fucking shit food? Yeah. You're gonna run. You probably won't be able to run, but you're gonna go, but you're not going to be where you should be or want to be. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So yeah, I get that. I've been adding I loved your recipe. You did some real later today. The carrot thing. Love that. Yeah, it's good, right? All for gut health. Yeah, I love that. So good. Yeah. And it's really nice. Look good. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. There's something that I've been putting into my my journal lately, since I started doing the 5-minute journal again, and it's because I think when you say don't do this, it's like not a good way to frame. It's too aggressive. Yeah. So I've like. There's times when I will, you know, maybe when I'm tired, or maybe I've just had a hard day and I want to just like treat myself. Yeah. So I'll like get some form of really sugary food, or like a fucking pastry or something, and I will just crash. Yeah. Every time. Yeah. So I've like started to frame this goal, you know, the affirmations that you do at the bottom. Yes. One of them is, I will only eat food that nourishes and gives me energy. Yeah, I love that. Which is like, it kind of cuts out the shit. Yeah. But that's the goal now. Yeah. It's like a positive frame of what I'm doing. Yeah. And the reason why I want to do that is because I want to be effective, and I want to be doing good shit with my days. And if I'm like
a potato. Freaking potato.
Oh,
I can't even say it now.
We're just laughing at that now. Every time potato is mentioned, everyone just looks at me. I'm just like, all right. Do you know what's funny is, I don't actually fucking eat potatoes. My father used to eat 6 spuds. We call them spuds. 6 spuds, massive potatoes, spuds at dinner with his bacon and cabbage. Like, my mom would be like, my mom's American. She'd be like, you just can't eat, you can't be eating that much carbs. And my father would be like, oh, fuck, they're good for you. You know, they're fucking good for you. But
that's the most Irish thing I think I've ever heard.
Very Irish.
It's definitely going in the trail.
No, I love it. No, people don't realise my mother's American. Like, so we grew up in an Irish household, but with a little bit of an American twist. Like, I used to say tomatoes, not tomatoes. I used to say garage, not garage. I used to say sneakers, not trainers. Yeah. And all my friends used to be like, making fun of my mom. They used to be like, Cormac, take out the garbage, clean your sneakers, all this stuff when I was growing up, you know, but it was funny. Yeah. But I'm like, you know, I'm Irish, but just with like, you know, I'm Irish, but you know, half my family's American though. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's just like,
it's a good balance. You get a bit of both.
No, yeah. 2 best passports in the world.
Yeah.
So I hear.
It's apparently pretty good. Yeah.
It's pretty good.
EU passport.
Very, very, very effective.
Yeah. I'm working on the Italian one. I think I can get that through my grandpa. So.
Love that.
What views do you have that would make most people either scratch their head or get angry?
Oh, honestly, bro, I kind of try and stay in the middle when it comes to anything like religiously or politically or anything like that, because it's like, for me, it's like, I'll only say something, I'll only bring something up if I'm passionate about it, whether it be like fitness or sports or anything like that. I won't just say something for the sake of saying it.
Doesn't have to be religion or like just something that might be a little bit like out of pocket or interesting that you're
Say the question again.
So what views do you have that would make most people either scratch their head or get angry? You can pass if you want. It's okay. Unless you got something interesting.
I don't.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
What's the biggest thing over the last 2 years that you've changed your mind on?
Biggest thing that over the last 2 years that I've changed my mind on? I think when I was first getting sober, I was so adamant that everyone needs to be sober, right? And I used to say that you have to, I forget the quote, but it was just like, for me, I had to like fail so hard in order for me to get back up again. But that's not really true, because it's like, everyone fails somewhat, but like for me, it was just like I had to be at where I was in order for me to be where I am today. And that's kind of true, but for a lot of people, it's not. Do you know what I mean? Just because it happened to me, it doesn't necessarily happen to everyone. And going back to the relapses as well, relapse is a part of recovery, but it's not for everyone. You know, people come and go in life, and it's the sad thing about, like, especially when it comes to mental health and suicide and addiction and recovery and everything like that. But like for me, I'm very grateful for my relapses, but that doesn't mean everyone has to relapse, you know. That doesn't mean everyone has to fail, or, you know.
Ideally, micro failures.
Yeah, micro failures.
Like lessons, micro failures that give you some lessons. Are better than massive blow ups.
Yeah, my failures were quite big when it kind of came to myself. Yeah, but I guess why I want to talk about my story is to help other people not get to where I was. Yeah, that's
the lessons.
That's the lesson in that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What's the kindest thing anyone's ever done for you?
Oh, bro, my girlfriend got me this this book for my 2-year sobriety, and it was the nicest thing everyone's ever got for me. And she had pictures of me and my friends and my accomplishments, and then a picture of me and my father.
She scrapbooked.
Yeah. She's very, very creative, bro. And she got and I lost my best friend almost a year ago. And, you know, he was sober when I was in rehab, and he ended up going back out there and was drink driving. Yeah. And he passed last November 5th.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that was a rough time, and you know, I'm going back for his year anniversary, and 3 of my best friends were triplets, and he was one of them. And so yeah, Johnny's my girlfriend, and she got me the scrapbook, and it had pictures of Darren was my friend who passed. Had pictures of me and Darren, and me and my father. And there was funny enough, there was a picture of my father and Darren, and she put that in there as well. And she reached out to my sister, my friends, and you know, we were only dating since last March, like, and she just had I don't know. I said to her, I was like, this is the best present I've ever got in my life. And it was a little book full of pictures, you know. And
what do you think it was that made it the best present?
I think it was a combination of things. Like, it was just like, you know, my mom and my sister had put together a little scrapbook for me one time as well when I came home, and little photos and stuff, and that made me feel really good as well. But I guess it was just the accomplishment for me as a person, and I started crying when I saw it. It came in the mail because my girlfriend lives in Arizona. It came in the mail, and I didn't know what it was, so it was just you know, sense of shock, and like I was just like,
Surprise,
I don't know, yeah, surprise, effort, everything that went into it, bro. But also it had everyone there that I love in that book, and for me it was just like another big reminder of like, oh my God, like you're in the right place right now, like, you know. It was a powerful thing.
That's good, man.
Yeah,
I like that. If you could only recommend one book, podcast, experience for somebody to read or do that's going to have the most impact in their whole life,
yeah,
what would it be?
So besides this podcast, yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah, honestly,
goes
man,
without saying.
and this is so like everyone probably listens to this podcast, but I listen to Joe Rogan on the weekly, bro.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I bring him up is because there's so much variety on there, right? And his message is health and wellness, bro. It always is. Even when he has MMA guests on there, it always goes back to their routines and what they do in their life and their failures. Like, what's the artist, Big Jelly? What's his name?
Don't know.
Big country singer, like, you know, and he came.
Oh yeah, okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
You're talking about
Big Jelly or something. And you know, obviously they're talking about music and stuff, but it went back to like his struggles with he was addicted to drugs and alcohol as well, and he had issues with food and stuff as well. But it always goes back to the message as well, and I find the message is so powerful on that. But going back to the book, bro, Matthew McConaughey's book Green Light as well, powerful one, bro. And it's such a it's just such a strong message. And like, what green light means is it's constant. It's constant direction, right? Yes, like when you think of like the green light, red light, there will be some red lights, but for him it was just constant green light. It was constant movement, constant progress. You know, that's what I got from it anyway. You know, and it was just, and he just told his story in such a powerful way, and it was just, I don't know. I like, and even me talking about it now, I'm like, I want to read that. I want to read his book.
I want to read it. I've never read it, so
that's beautiful.
I'm gonna write it down
to
read. And one of the last questions I had for you is, if you could know the absolute truth to one question, what would it be?
Oh, if I could know one truth to one question, what would it be? I guess I'm in between this one, but I guess I'd like to see where I am in how am I now? I'd like to see where I am in 10 years' time.
Would you?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Really?
Reason being is,
what about like the butterfly effect?
No, I know that, but that's why I'm in between it. I'm in between it. You know, it's like, for me, it's like I'd like to see where I am in 10 years' time, just because if I'm not happy with where I am, it means I'm gonna fucking work harder. But what's the question again?
If you could know the absolute truth to one thing, what would it be?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a tough one. I think, I'd like to see where I am in 10 years' time, just to see if I can improve anything in my life, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything you're excited about at the moment that you want to let listeners in on?
Yeah, I'm competing in Mr. Universe in December.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. It's in Los Angeles again, so
what are your dates? What are your dates?
What date is the pageant? December 22nd. So
I'll just be going back to Australia.
Yeah.
I'll be there though. I'll be there 15th to the 21st.
Will ya? Yeah. Okay, I'll be there 15th.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a link. But other than that, man, just like do my thing with my business. I'm actually moving to Arizona at the end of this year. My girlfriend lives in Arizona, so I'm making the leap to the other side of the country.
Nice.
So I'm excited for that, and we're gonna rent a moving truck and drive across country.
Nice.
So I've never done that before.
Nice.
So it's just little things, bro. Nothing like. I'm excited about everything, bro. Honestly, like even the small things in life, you know. Like I'm excited just about being there. Like this week is amazing now because my family's all in town, so I'm really excited for that. So, yeah, man, life is good, but like it doesn't come without its struggles. But I'll embrace my struggles as well, like, you know. So I think one message I do want to get across, like, if anyone is struggling, like, you know, and I'm sure you've gotten the message already, but if anyone's struggling, it's just like you got to reach out to someone, you know. reach out to someone. It could be anyone, bro. It doesn't have to be people you know. Like, you know, for me, it was my family, it was my friends, but like, you know, reach out for help because everyone needs help in the world, bro. It's just, it's life is beautiful, but it can be tough as well. And it gets easier when you have people to help you.
It does. It does. And where can people find you if they're interested? Yeah,
I am Cormac Murphy on Instagram, TikTok. And yeah, I'll just be kind of doing my thing, and I hope you guys like what you see, and feedback is always welcome as well, you know. And I'm always in my DMs, bro, as well with people, like, you know, especially when it comes to sobriety and stuff like that, you know. So DMs are always open if you're struggling, and if you just want someone to talk to, I'm always there as well.
Cool, man.
Yeah,
cool. And last question is, what do you think the meaning of life is?
Oh, wow. What do I think the meaning of life? I think the meaning of life is experiences, bro. You know, experiences, like, and that's good or bad. Yeah. I think like anything, we talked about storytelling earlier, like I just think you have to get out there and experience things.
Yeah.
You know, good or bad, comfortable or uncomfortable, you know. I just think that's the beautiful thing. Like, you've traveled a lot, right?
Yeah.
I've traveled a fair bit as well, like, but I want to travel more. Like, I want to see the world. I want to meet more people, you know. It's just like, I think that's the beautiful thing. And now, you know, I want to do that with people who I love, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's a powerful thing to travel on your own as well, but I guess it's nice to have a question mark after the meaning of life, right? Because it always kind of keeps you guessing as well. I think guessing is a good thing, bro. If you're guessing about life, it's a good thing. It just means like you will push harder to find out what it is, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to find out what it is.
It's part of the fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Cormac, thank you for your time.
Legend,
thank you for your energy.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thank you, bro.
Cool. And if anyone's still made it to this far, please subscribe, give the podcast a rating. Let us know your thoughts in the Q&A, Spotify, comments on YouTube. Love to hear from you. Till next time.